We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it. And that's for the betterment of our community.
The air was thick with celebration, a palpable sense of excitement coursing through the streets. Music pulsed through the night, its rhythm echoing off the buildings and drawing people into the festivities. Laughter and chatter filled the air, blending with the music to create a symphony of joy and camaraderie. It was supposed to be a night of joy, a celebration of life where friends and family gathered to mark a special occasion. Rapper Julio Foolio had just turned 22, a milestone that should have been filled with hope and promise. But fate, it seemed, had other plans, casting a dark shadow over the night's festivities. As the party spilled out into the night, with guests laughing and reminiscing, a sinister plot was already in motion, unseen by the revelers. Unbeknownst to Foolio and his friends, danger lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike, its presence felt but not seen. The party ended abruptly, the joyous atmosphere shattered by the deafening roar of gunfire, screams of terror replacing the laughter. When the smoke cleared, the scene was one of chaos and heartbreak. Julio Foolio lay dead, another victim of senseless violence, his dreams and potential snuffed out in an instant. The community mourned, gathering to remember a life cut tragically short, their hearts heavy with grief and anger. As dawn broke, the city awoke to the harsh reality of another young life lost, a stark reminder of the violence that continues to plague our streets. Julio Foolio, born Charles Jones, was more than just a rapper. He was a voice for the voiceless, a beacon of hope for many who felt unseen and unheard. He was a son, a brother, a friend. To his family, he was Charles, a young man full of life and laughter, always bringing joy to those around him. He was a young man with dreams, a talent for music, and a promising future ahead of him. From a young age, he showed a natural affinity for rhythm and poetry, often found scribbling lyrics in his notebook or strumming his guitar. His lyrics, raw and honest, resonated with many, reflecting the harsh realities of the streets he called home. He spoke of struggle, pain, and hope, painting vivid pictures of life in his neighborhood. His star was on the rise, his music gaining traction, his voice poised to break through. Each performance was a testament to his dedication and passion, drawing larger and more enthusiastic crowds. But his journey was cut tragically short, his potential forever unrealized. The same streets that inspired his art also harbored dangers that ultimately claimed his life. The streets that gave birth to his music ultimately claimed his life. His community mourns the loss of a bright light, a rising star dimmed too soon. His legacy, however, lives on through his music, a poignant reminder of what was and what could have been. At the heart of this tragedy lay a bitter feud, a cycle of violence that had plagued the streets for years. The city, once vibrant and full of life, had become a battleground where the echoes of gunfire were a daily occurrence. The residents lived in constant fear, their lives overshadowed by the ever-present threat of violence. The ATK and 1,200 gangs locked in a deadly rivalry fueled by hatred and fueled by revenge. Their conflict was not just about territory or power, it was deeply personal, rooted in a history of betrayal and bloodshed. Each side sought to outdo the other, to prove their dominance through acts of brutality. Each act of violence, a retaliatory strike, a desperate attempt to assert dominance. The streets were littered with the remnants of their battles, bullet casings, shattered glass, and the haunting silence that followed each confrontation. The community watched helplessly as their neighborhood became a war zone. Lives were lost, families torn apart, a community held hostage by fear. The funerals became a grim routine, with families mourning their loved ones, lighting candles in their memory, and holding vigils in the hope that the violence would end. But the cycle continued, relentless and unforgiving. The feud, a cancer eating away at the fabric of their world, showed no signs of abating. The once thriving community now bore the scars of neglect and decay, with abandoned buildings and graffiti marking the territory of the warring factions. The sense of hopelessness was palpable, and Julio Foolio, unwittingly caught in the crossfire, would become another tragic statistic in this senseless war. His story was one of many, a testament to the devastating impact of the feud. As the community mourned yet another loss, they were left to wonder if there would ever be an end to the bloodshed. The events leading to Foolio's death were a chilling testament to the calculated nature of the crime. It was not a random act, not a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was an orchestrated hit, planned with chilling precision. Surveillance footage, pieced together like a macabre puzzle, revealed the movements of the suspects. Their faces, obscured by hoodies and masks, could not hide the cold, hard glint in their eyes. They were on a mission, driven by a single-minded purpose, to eliminate their target. Section 5. Caught on camera. The ambush and its aftermath. The footage of the ambush was chilling. A white SUV captured on camera, stalking its prey. Foolio, unaware of the danger lurking just around the corner, climbed into his car. Then a sudden burst of gunfire. The SUV speeding away into the night, leaving behind a scene of chaos and carnage. Witnesses described the scene as a war zone, the air thick with the smell of gunpowder. Foolio's car, riddled with bullet holes, stood as a grim testament to the brutality of the attack. Section 6. Justice served, the arrests and ongoing manhunt. The investigation, swift and relentless, led to the arrest of 3 suspects, Alicia Andrews, Isaiah Chance Jr., and Johan Greit. Their faces, plastered across news channels, became synonymous with the brutal crime. But 2 more suspects, Rashad and David Murphy, remained at large, ghosts haunting the streets, their faces added to the growing list of wanted fugitives. The manhunt, relentless and far-reaching, spanned state lines, a desperate race against time to bring all those responsible to justice. Section 7. Behind bars, the price of hatred. The suspects, now behind bars, faced a litany of charges: murder, conspiracy, attempted murder. The evidence against them, overwhelming and irrefutable, painted a grim picture of their involvement in the crime. Prosecutors, determined to seek justice for Foolio and his family, vowed to leave no stone unturned. The trial, a media spectacle, promised to be a long and arduous process. But one thing was clear: the suspects, driven by hate and blinded by loyalty, would be held accountable for their actions. Section 8. Social media's grim role, fueling the fire. In the aftermath of the murder, social media became both a platform for mourning and a breeding ground for further animosity. Tributes poured in from fans, fellow artists, and those whose lives had been touched by Foolio's music. But alongside the outpouring of grief came a torrent of anger, threats, and calls for retaliation. The digital world, mirroring the real-world conflict, became a battleground where the cycle of violence was perpetuated. Section 9. A community in mourning. The ripple effects of violence. Julio Foolio's murder sent shockwaves through the community, leaving behind a trail of grief, anger, and fear. His death, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of gang violence, ignited a call for change. Community leaders, activists, and residents, weary of the bloodshed, demanded an end to the violence that had plagued their streets for far too long. They knew that this cycle of violence, if left unchecked, would continue to claim innocent lives. Section 10. The cycle continues. Gang violence and its toll. But even as the community mourned, the cycle of violence continued. Retaliatory shootings, fueled by anger and a thirst for revenge, threatened to further escalate the conflict. The streets once again became battlegrounds, innocent lives caught in the crossfire. The police, stretched thin and fighting an uphill battle, struggled to contain the violence, their efforts often feeling like a mere band-aid on a gaping wound. Section 11. A Plea for Peace. Remembering Julio Foolio. Julio Foolio's story is a tragic reminder of the devastating impact of gang violence. It's a story that underscores the urgent need for change, for a collective effort to break the cycle of violence that continues to plague our communities. We must remember Julio Foolio not just for his music, but for the life cut short, for the potential forever unrealized. Let his death serve as a wake-up call, a catalyst for change, a reminder that we must choose peace over violence, hope.
While Chance was seen on camera using Andrew's phone outside of the vehicle, Chance was wearing a black hoodie with a distinctive red logo on it. After the call, the second suspect vehicle, a black Chevy Impala, arrived at those locations. Both suspect vehicles then followed the victim and his entourage to the scene where the homicide later occurs at the Homes 2 Suites. At Homes 2 Suite, the silver Chevy Cruze drives by the victim's parked vehicles twice and leaves. Then 3 shooters get out of the black Chevy Impala armed and begin shooting at the victim's vehicles, killing Charles Jones and shooting victims identified as Xavier Edwards, Gino Norris and Camilla Bentley. A license plate reader search was conducted for all vehicles matching the make, model and year range of the suspect vehicles, with guidance of having likely traveled from Jacksonville to Tampa. The results of the LPR research revealed a possible tag for the black Chevy Impala suspect vehicle tag, which was registered to a black 2008 Chevy Impala LTZ at defendant Sean Gatharite's address. Research revealed a possible tag for the silver Chevy Cruze, which was registered to a 2018 silver Chevy Cruze from Jacksonville. The Cruze was registered to a female who was confirmed to have shared an address with defendant Rashad Murphy's blood brother, who is currently in prison. Photos from the license plate readers confirmed both vehicles were a consistent match to include color tint rims, trim, and all other physical characteristics to the suspect vehicle as they were seen on camera to include the damage on the silver Cruze. The LPR hits confirm both vehicles traveled in a south direction from the Jacksonville area to the Tampa area prior to the homicide and then left the Tampa area in the afternoon following the homicide. The Cruze traveled back towards Jacksonville, and the Impala traveled east towards Polk County. 4 hits were registered by the same readers at the same time.
The shocking twist. In Foolio's case, how Alicia Andrews exposed her accomplices in court. The story of Foolio's tragic death took a wild turn recently, leaving everyone who has been following the case in complete shock. What started as a murder investigation has now turned into a dramatic courtroom drama, thanks to one of the suspects, Alicia Andrews. This case has captivated people everywhere, and it keeps getting more intense by the day. In this article, we will dive deep into the intricate details of this unbelievable story and how it could lead to even more arrests. The tragic ambush of Foolio. To fully understand the current situation, we need to go back to the beginning. Foolio, a well-known rapper from Jacksonville, Florida, had just celebrated his birthday on June 23, 2024. But what should have been a night of joy turned into a nightmare. While Foolio was at a Holiday Inn in Tampa, a group of people ambushed him, leading to his tragic death. The entire community was shaken by the news, and the police immediately began a relentless investigation to find out who was responsible for this terrible crime. The relentless investigation. The police wasted no time in gathering all the evidence they could to track down the killers. They spent weeks analyzing hours of surveillance footage from the hotel where the incident took place. They also used advanced technology like license plate readers and even combed through phone logs to identify the vehicles involved. The investigators also went through Foolio's social media accounts to find any clues or threats that could lead them to the suspects. After all this hard work, the police finally identified 3 primary suspects. Alicia Andrews, 21 years old, Isaiah Chance Jr., also 21 years old, and Sean Guthrie, who was only 18 years old at the time. With this information, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office quickly moved to arrest them. But this was just the beginning of a much bigger and more complicated story. The dramatic arrests. The arrests of the suspects were not like any ordinary arrests. Each one of them happened in dramatic fashion, almost like a scene from a movie. The first arrest took place in a parking lot on a rainy day. The rain was pouring down heavily, adding to the tense atmosphere. The police officers, wearing body cameras, approached Sean Guthrie, who was standing in the middle of the parking lot with his hands in the air. The officers, with their guns drawn, instructed Sean to keep his hands visible as they moved in to arrest him. You could feel the tension in the air as the officers shouted, "Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, walk back to me." Eventually, they got close enough to handcuff Sean and take him into custody. The second arrest was even more intense. It happened in a quiet neighborhood, but the calmness of the area was disrupted by a heavy downpour of rain and the presence of heavily armed officers. The officers, carrying large rifles, surrounded the house where they believed Isaiah Chance Jr. was hiding. Body cam footage showed the officers approaching the house cautiously, their eyes scanning every corner for any signs of danger. They finally spotted Isaiah and ordered him to come out with his hands up. "Hands up and walk toward me," they yelled repeatedly, making sure Isaiah complied with their commands. Isaiah, with his hands outstretched, slowly walked toward the officers. The tension was high as the officers kept their weapons trained on him. Once he was close enough, they instructed him to get on the ground with his hands behind his back. Isaiah was then handcuffed and taken to a separate vehicle, where he was secured for transport to the police station. The final arrest of that day involved Alicia Andrews, the only female suspect in the case. She was in the same house as Isaiah, and when she walked out, her hands were already raised high in the air, a sign that she was surrendering without a fight. The officers quickly moved in to handcuff her, making sure she was kept far away from Isaiah, who was already seated on the bumper of a police car. Both Alicia and Isaiah were then transported to the police station, where they were booked, and their mugshots were taken and soon made public. The charges against these three suspects were severe. Alicia Andrews and Isaiah Chance Jr. were both charged with premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm and conspiracy to commit premeditated first-degree murder with a firearm. These are very serious charges that could lead to life in prison or even the death penalty if they are found guilty. But the charges against Sean Guthrie were even more severe. He was facing 2 counts of premeditated murder with a firearm, 3 counts of first-degree attempted premeditated murder with a firearm, and tampering with physical evidence. The authorities were not playing around when it came to seeking justice for Foolio's death. The hunt for more suspects. Even after these 3 suspects were arrested, the police were not done with their investigation. They were still on the lookout for 2 more suspects, Rashad Murphy and Davin Murphy. The police believed these 2 were also involved in the ambush that led to Foolio's death, and they were determined to bring them to justice. The breakthrough came when the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office received a crucial tip from an anonymous source. The tipster told the police that Rashad Murphy was hiding at the Collins Preserve Apartments, a residential complex located between I-295 and Collins Road. This information was a game-changer for the investigation, and the police knew they had to act fast. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, along with the U.S. Marshals Service, quickly mobilized a team to apprehend Rashad Murphy. They assembled a SWAT unit, along with members of the CPR, Community Problem Response, and gang units to carry out the operation. The plan was to surround the apartment complex and ensure that Rashad had no way to escape. The scene was intense as the SWAT team moved in, their vehicles blocking off all the exits from the complex. The officers, clad in tactical gear and armed with powerful weapons, approached the building where they believed Rashad was hiding. They moved with precision, making sure that every possible escape route was covered. The tension was palpable as the officers closed in on their target. Inside the apartment, Rashad must have known that the game was up. There was no way out, and he was completely surrounded. The SWAT team, using a loudspeaker, called out to Rashad, ordering him to come out with his hands up. After what felt like an eternity, Rashad finally emerged from the apartment, his hands raised in surrender. The officers quickly moved in, handcuffed him, and took him into custody. Another suspect was now off the streets, and the police were one step closer to solving the case. The bombshell revelation. But just when everyone thought the case couldn't get any more dramatic, Alicia Andrews dropped a bombshell in court that left everyone stunned. In a post-Miranda statement, where she was reminded of her rights before speaking to the police, Alicia decided to tell everything she knew, and she didn't hold back. Alicia admitted to her involvement in the ambush and identified herself in the surveillance footage that the police had gathered. But that wasn't all. She also named her accomplices, including those who had not yet been arrested. This was a huge development in the case because it meant that more people could be arrested and charged for their involvement in Foolio's murder. The revelation made by Alicia in court was a game changer. It was a risky move for her, as snitching on her accomplices could put her in danger, especially if any of them are part of a gang. But Alicia seemed determined to come clean, perhaps in hopes of receiving a lighter sentence in exchange for her cooperation. The impact of Alicia's revelation. Alicia's confession has had a huge impact on the case. With her testimony, the police now have enough evidence to go after the remaining suspects involved in the ambush. This could lead to even more arrests in the coming days or weeks. The community is watching closely as this case continues to unfold, and everyone is eager to see justice served for Foolio. But Alicia's decision to snitch has also put her in a difficult position. In the world of crime, snitching is often seen as the ultimate betrayal, and it can have serious consequences. Alicia will likely need to be placed under special protection to ensure her safety, especially if her former accomplices or their associates decide to retaliate. The aftermath and what comes next. As of now, the case is far from over. The police are continuing their investigation, and more arrests could be made at any time. The legal process will likely take months, if not years, to play out fully. There will be court hearings, trials, and possibly even appeals, depending on how the case unfolds. For the community, this case is a reminder of the violence that can sometimes erupt even among young people. Foolio's death has left a void that can never be filled, and the pain of losing him will be felt for a long time. But there is also a sense of hope that justice will be served and that those responsible for this terrible crime will be held accountable. In the end, this case will be remembered not just for the tragic loss of a young life, but also for the shocking twists and turns that have kept everyone on the edge of their seats. Alicia Andrews' decision to come clean has added a whole new layer of complexity to the case, and it will be interesting to see how it all plays out in the courtroom. Conclusion. The case of Foolio's murder has turned into one of the most gripping and dramatic stories to come out of Jacksonville in recent memory. What began as a tragic loss of a young rapper has evolved into a complex legal battle, filled with unexpected twists and shocking revelations. Alicia Andrews' decision to expose her accomplices in court has added an entirely new dimension to the case, potentially leading to more arrests and deeper investigations. This case is a stark reminder of the violence that can erupt in the most unexpected moments and the far-reaching consequences that follow. The tragic ambush that took Foolio's life has left a void in the hearts of his loved ones and fans, a void that no amount of justice can truly fill. However, there is hope that the legal process will bring some measure of closure to those affected, as the courts work to hold those responsible accountable for their actions. As the investigation continues and the legal proceedings unfold, all eyes will remain on this case, eagerly awaiting the next chapter in this ongoing saga. The story of Foolio's murder is far from over, and the outcome will be watched closely by the community, who are united in their desire to see justice served. In the end, this case will be remembered not only for the loss of a promising young life, but also for the surprising and dramatic turns that have kept everyone riveted from the start. Before we wrap things up, we want to give a huge shout out to all our loyal viewers and subscribers. Your support means the world to us, and we're committed to bringing you the latest updates on the most gripping stories, just like this one. We know you're just as invested in this case as we are, and trust us, there's so much more to come. This is only the beginning of the drama surrounding Foolio's case. With Alicia Andrews' shocking courtroom revelations, we can expect more twists, more arrests, and even more jaw-dropping moments as the investigation unfolds. Make sure to stay tuned to our channel because we'll be here to break down every detail as soon as it
6:35
happens.
is your time right now. Turning our attention to this
already,
story in
hit
Tampa,
that
where
subscribe
police
button and
are
turn
still
on
looking
notifications so
for
you
the
don't miss
person
a
who
single
shot him,
update.
a
We're
rapper,
bringing you
and
the
hurt
most
3
in-depth
others
coverage.
outside of a
And you won't
hotel
want to miss
there.
out on what happens
3
next in
others
this
were injured
incredible story.
in that shooting, as
Stay
we
with
said,
us,
but
because the next chapter is
26-year-old
just around the
Charles
corner.
Jones was also known as Julio Foolio, was reportedly there to celebrate his birthday.
The beef between Youngin Ace and Julio Foolio, 2 prominent rappers from Jacksonville, Florida, is a tale marked by intense rivalry, violent confrontations, and provocative diss tracks. Their feud extends beyond music, rooted in deep-seated personal and gang-related conflicts that have spilled into the public eye. This animosity has not only fueled their careers, but also highlighted the dangerous intersections of street life and the music industry. Understanding the real story behind their beef provides insight into the complexities of urban rap culture and the precarious balance between fame and survival.
You've seen it? Okay. So what he said was, and we'll play the clip, was that you guys have talked a couple of times, and he thinks that the beef will end sooner than later.
I don't know him. I never seen him before in my life.
The ongoing feud in Florida's rap scene has claimed another life. Julio Foolio, known as Young Life Julio, was celebrating his 26th birthday when he was tragically His death adds to the violent history of his notorious rivalry with fellow Florida rapper Youngeen Ace. Rumors now suggest that Youngeen Ace is on the run after federal authorities allegedly discovered new evidence linking him to planning the hit on Julio. In a shocking turn of events, just hours after Foolio's death, Youngeen Ace released a new diss track titled Do It and posted a tweet seemingly mocking Foolio's passing. This latest tragedy underscores the long-standing rivalry between the two rappers and their respective crews, Ace's ATK and Foolio's KTA. Both Foolio and Youngeen Ace have lost multiple friends and family members to this ongoing feud, including their own brothers. Following Foolio's passing, federal authorities are reportedly intensifying their focus on Youngeen Ace in connection with the incident.
Yeah, you could go down and say, okay, you know, Foolio, he didn't take from nobody, whatever else, but you're not around to, you know, to feel that love because you're gone.
Oh, you trying? And it's crazy because I done died death so many times. Sometimes I just be like, this is just the way I live. I don't know. I just see death so much.
The Tampa Police Department has confirmed to 2XL magazine that Julio Foolio, whose real name was Charles Jones, was one of 4 people shot during the incident outside the hotel. All we know at this point is around 4:40 this morning, we received a 911 call about a shooting in a parking lot on McKinley and Fowler. 2 cars were shot at, and 4 people were shot in total. 3 were transported to hospitals, and 1 was pronounced deceased at the scene, said Jonay Lewis, Public Information Officer for the Tampa Police Department. What we have learned, and this is early in the investigation, 2 cars were shot at, said Jonay Lewis, Public Information Officer of the Tampa Police Department. The statement continued, saying that police are actively investigating the events leading up to the incident and are working to identify those involved. Investigation and further information will be released as it becomes available. Meanwhile, Foolio's attorney, L.S. Fusco, informed Newsting that Foolio was celebrating his 26th birthday and initially staying at an Airbnb. However, they were asked to leave by the host due to having too many people to relocate. Unfortunately, Foolio and his friends shared this new location on social media. According to his attorney, he was ambushed at the Holiday Inn Hotel, where he had rented a room after leaving the Airbnb.
Longtime attorney Louis Fusco, who represents Jones, confirms the rapper was kicked out of an Airbnb, then went to a hotel. That's where investigators believe Jones and his entourage were ambushed. Social media posts point to the rapper celebrating his birthday, and witnesses say it was interrupted by an unknown group. Now the search is on for the parties involved in the shooting.
In case you're not familiar with Foolio's backstory, he was a rising star in the rap scene from Jacksonville, Florida, known for his significant social media presence. With over 1 million followers on Instagram and more than 600,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, Foolio made a substantial impact on the music industry. However, he was also notorious for his intense public feud with fellow Florida rapper Youngeen Ace. This conflict wasn't just personal, it stemmed from a long-standing rivalry between their respective crews, Foolio's KTA and Ace's ATK.
ATK gang. Investigators say this organization is connected to a string in Jacksonville.
There's many names for ATK. Ace's top one, 9 people, potentially responsible for 15 of, and who knows what else.
The animosity between the two crews had been simmering for years, escalating dramatically in 2017 when Foolio's 17-year-old cousin, Zan Brown, was targeted. Shortly after, DeAndre Thomas, an associate of Youngeen Ace, was charged in connection with the incident. This event triggered a series of tragic events between 2018 and 2021. Many rappers talk tough in the booth but don't live that life. But Julio Foolio is the opposite. He sparked one of the deadliest wars in rap history and survived 4 shootouts. Yet, most fans have no idea how wild his story truly is. Foolio came up on the north side of Jacksonville, in one of the most active areas of the city called 6 Block. He told Cam Capone News that he lost his first homie at just 15 years old, and by the time he was 20, he had already lost 15 friends to the streets. After being kicked out of school in the 9th grade, Foolio was sent to an alternative school in rival territory. On his first day at the new school, someone from the rival neighborhood was while waiting for the bus, and Foolio started dissing them all over social media. Many people at school believed Foolio had something to do with the hit, leading to a fight over the incident. Throwing hands is one thing, but after the last bell rang, the situation took a wild turn. Foolio hopped on the bus, but the ops were following him. While he was walking down the street, someone started shooting at him and his homies. A bullet hit Foolio in the leg and knocked his hip out of place, forcing him to crawl away while the shooter continued firing.
When you heard about the how'd you feel?
I was crushed. Cause it's like, I could have saved him, like, you know? I could have like, cause I was like on the phone with him, like he called me, he was like, big cuz. That's my cousin, you know what I'm saying? He like, cuz, let me come to Daytona with you. I'm trying to come to Daytona. I was mad at him for a dumbass reason. Like, I straight told him, no, bro, you can't come with me.
Foolio made it to the front yard of a woman in the neighborhood and asked for help, but she told him to get off her property and refused to assist him. He passed out and woke up surrounded by cops and EMTs, then blacked out again and woke up in the hospital. The ops weren't the only ones who thought he was involved in the that occurred that morning. The police started questioning him about the situation as well. Eventually, Foolio proved that he was just going to school that morning and wasn't involved in the However, his life took a brutal turn after that day. Foolio tried working a normal job in a factory for a short period, but it only lasted a few months before he returned to street activities. He dove deeper into the streets and started rapping simultaneously. Initially, rapping was just a side activity, but after a few of his early tracks gained popularity, he realized it could be his ticket out of the trenches. Around the same time, Foolio was gaining buzz in the city. Another rapper named Youngjin Ace was also laying down tracks and trying to make a name for himself. Instead of collaborating and putting on for Jacksonville together, they ended up splitting the city in half, leading to dozens of bodies dropping on both sides. The feud allegedly began with the killing of Foolio's cousin Zion Brown in 2017. Zion was at his house when a man named DeAndre Thomas threw a brick through the window and started shooting. 2 girls in the house were hit but survived, while Zion tragically did not make it out alive. Youngjin Ace and Thomas were close, and in 2018, both were charged with allegedly robbing a weed dealer and shooting him.
You had a cousin, Zion Brown.
Yeah, I got him on my stomach tattooed.
19 years old, a man stormed into a house and shot him to death.
Yeah.
Ace managed to avoid serious legal consequences in the case, but a few months later, he experienced a brutal loss that intensified his beef with Foolio. Ace, his brother, and 2 of his best friends went out to eat to celebrate his homie's birthday. As they left the restaurant, a shooter approached and emptied a clip into their car. Ace was hit 8 times, but was the only one who survived. After the incident, Foolio made some disparaging comments on social media. He told SETV that he didn't feel bad about it because he knew Ace's crew would have done the same if the situation were reversed. Despite dissing Ace's dead friends, Foolio claimed the beef wasn't that deep, but the events that followed proved otherwise. In January 2019, a rapper named Boss Goon was shot and outside a nightclub in Jacksonville. He had just been released from prison after serving a decade behind bars, and his father was also injured in the shooting. Boss Goon was the brother of Ace's homie Xu, who was allegedly one of the top shooters in Ace's ATK crew. After his brother's death, Xu allegedly retaliated by one of Foolio's best friends, further escalating the deadly feud. Lil Baby was always hanging around Foolio, despite his homie K Shorty warning him to stay away. Foolio was already one of the most hated dudes in the city, and K Shorty knew that Lil Baby could get caught up in the drama and end up with a target on his back too. Unfortunately, Lil Baby didn't listen, and in February 2019, a shooter approached him outside his apartment building and started firing. Lil Baby tried to escape, but the shooter ran up and killed him in broad daylight. Following Lil Baby's death, the other side started dissing him like crazy. Xu, in particular, dropped a track where he rapped about the incident, adding fuel to the already intense and deadly rivalry.
And you know we smoke Lil Baby, bitch. Queso, bitch. Glocks and Rugals, we be.
Now Xu is facing a murder charge. Lil Baby Plus, he's fighting another case for allegedly another one of Foolio's homies, named L. Buck. Foolio's side allegedly clapped back by taking out Ace's homie, Leaky. Leaky was one of Foolio's biggest ops and allegedly even shot his girlfriend's finger off. In April 2020, Foolio's girlfriend Bubbin was driving his car when a shooter drove by and started firing at her and her friend. Bubbin tried to drive away and duck from the bullets, but she ended up getting hit in the head and knee and even lost a finger. Rumors said that Leaky was the one who pulled up on her, and his homie Spinabens dissed Foolio over it on the track I Don't Smoke Kendra, with the lyrics reflecting the ongoing violence and retaliation.
Mama got shot and he still tweaking. This bitch got shot, cool, I know she leaving.
A month after Bubbin was shot, Leaky allegedly another person from 6 Block named 35. 35 was just hanging out with some friends when a shooter hopped out of a car and opened fire, hitting all of them. While 35's friends survived, he tragically did not make it. Leaky was known as one of the most active shooters in the city, and he allegedly another rival just 1 month after 35's death. A rapper named Jump Out Squeeze had recently dropped a diss track against Leaky and his crew, but 10 days later, he was while trying to apply for a job at an Amazon warehouse. Leaky's actions put immense pressure on the streets, and in September 2020, it all caught up to him. Leaky was while sitting in a car with Spinabens and other friends when another vehicle pulled up and started shooting. By the time the shooting stopped, Leaky was dead. Nobody was ever charged with but Leaky's sister claimed that Foolio was involved in the hit. After Leaky's death, Foolio hopped on Rod K's track All Gas and rapped lines that many interpreted as boasting about Leaky's. He even named a song after Leaky and said, 100K, he'll shake the room, sweep his block, we don't need no broom. They ask me how high I am, I'm Leaky high, I'm to the moon. 16, they K him soon, in the streets acting like a goon. You in my city better check. In, we spin Ben. We'll make you get in tune. Eliminating Leaky from the picture was a significant victory for Foolio and 6 Block, but they soon faced 2 consecutive losses. Foolio's friend, SP2 Times, was found shot to death at the Hilltop Village Apartments, the same location where BBY was. The very next day, Rod K was also in the same spot. In response to these events, Spinabens released the track I Don't Smoke Kendra, where he rapped, Rod K died, he was spinning, guess he freezed up. F his last words, co. The last thing he seen was us, A. N-word, no, we get it poppin'. Q, I might miss in the range, but I can hit a moving target. Shooting for his head, I around and hit his body. I'm just shooting and I'm spraying. I around and hit his partner, go. Ay. The violence in Jacksonville was escalating daily, but Foolio couldn't find safety, even after leaving the city in 2020. While in Houston, the ops attempted to target him, shooting up his car and grazing his neck. Despite this, Foolio quickly returned to social media to taunt the ops for their failed attempt on his life.
Bitch ass shot me but didn't kill me. On Kendra.
As soon as Foolio was targeted, rumors circulated that Youngin Ace and his crew were behind it. When they released the track, Who I Smoke, Fast Money Goon essentially confirmed those suspicions. The diss track escalated the conflict in Jacksonville to unprecedented levels, becoming one of the most brutal diss tracks ever and drawing significant attention to the city's ongoing turmoil. Youngin Ace, along with Spinabens, Whopper, and Fast Money Goon, all took aim at Foolio and his deceased associates. Even Foolio acknowledged the track's impact, admitting to its harshness. However, he wasn't one to back down. A few weeks later, he retaliated with When I See You, taking the disrespect to a whole new level. In the video, Foolio opened with a news report detailing the shooting that claimed Ace's brother and 2 friends. He stood in front of a flyer bearing their photos, dancing defiantly as he delivered cutting lines. Ace from the West. How he clicked up with the East Side? How? He ain't been the same since he seen the other 3 die. Goddamn. B. I'm 2-3 high. B. Say your goodbye. Gave that boy the business. Like a suit and a bow tie. Facts. Light them boys block up. Like the 4th of July. Bruh. They got caught lacking. The whole world wanna know why. In 2021, the beef reached its peak when Foolio seized the opportunity to unleash a barrage of provocative shots at Ace and his crew. On his remix of the track Beatbox, Foolio and his partner Kojak targeted Queso's brother Boss Goon with fiery lines like, Rolling dead ops are boom. He caught a headshot. Big boss gone, we got him scared now. Come out. He was dissing in them songs. What he's saying now? AR with a 50D round, knock his dread off. ran down. 50K on your head. Let that bag talk. Bag. I'ma walk him down, ain't no standoff. No. N playing hard, but he really soft 6. Prosper got shot. Shot. Tay got shot. Ha. Desi got dropped. Damn. Nate got popped. Damn. Leak got shot. Well, damn. Spazface hot. On gang. Corbin got kidnapped. They found his bones. He was rotten. Where's Corbin? Michi was the boss. They knocked his ass off. John acted a fool. Corbin Johnson, associated with the same group as Lil Leaky, allegedly met his end at an Amazon warehouse following an interview in 2020. A missing persons report was filed 2 days later, but his body wasn't discovered until a year later, wrapped in plastic in the woods. The perpetrator remains unknown, but Foolio has consistently dissed Corbin since then. Foolio intensified his attacks in the October 2021 track, List of Dead Ops, escalating the already intense disrespect in Jacksonville's drill scene by targeting over 30 deceased rivals. Foolio began the track by targeting Big Baby and other adversaries. Notably, Big Baby, who M. Foolio, on his first day at a new school, was among those called out. In 2016, Foolio's rival Malcolm was also K in a shootout on 2nd Avenue, leading Foolio to take shots at both Malcolm and Corbin in his lyrics, stating, "Malcolm died on 2nd. They taught his a lesson. Aye, Corbin got kidnapped. How the F a grown man go missing?" Then he called out Eldridge, who allegedly faced repercussions for allegedly snitching on his friends, rapping, "Eldridge died, he was snitching. Damn. Either way, he was gonna get it. Damn." In 2015, Foolio's rival Desi was discovered shot multiple times in the head and face. Despite Desi's father being a retired police officer, Desi faced charges, including carrying a concealed firearm and resisting arrest. Foolio dissed him on the track, along with Freddie Patterson, who had previously dissed Lil Baby in a song. After Foolio dropped his diss track, someone knocked on Freddie's front door and fatally shot him when he answered. Foolio mocked both individuals in his lyrics. In June 2018, Young and Ace was targeted in a drive-by shooting that resulted in the death of his brother, Trevon Bullard, and 2 others. Young and Ace survived despite being shot 8 times. Adding more tension to the feud, Foolio appeared to celebrate the deaths of Youngin Ace's brother on social media. Fast forward to March 2021, the feud reached new heights when Youngin Ace, along with Spinner Ben and Fast Money Goon, released the song Who I Smoke.
Who knows what else?
The day we're shooting for When I See You, Who I Smoke.
Who I Smoke came out of nowhere, went crazy, kind of made it more mainstream to where people who don't even know y'all, they were tapped into it. Did you make them do that?
I don't know. How I took it too far when they made a song for speaking. Once the dead get involved, it's already too far.
In March 2021, Who I Smoke was released, featuring Youngin Ace, Spinner Ben, and Fast Money Goon. The song, which sampled Vanessa Carlton's 2002 hit, 1,000 Miles, included a chorus that named deceased members of Foolio's crew. Shortly after, Foolio responded with When I See You, a track that began with a news report about the 2018 incident that claimed the life of Youngin Ace's brother. The music video for When I See You was equally provocative, showing Foolio dancing in a cemetery with photos of Ace's deceased brother and friends. Over the years, both Foolio and Youngin Ace briefly addressed their feud in interviews, but mostly avoided going into detail about the conflict. In July 2021, Foolio spoke with Vlad TV and discussed Youngin Ace dissing his deceased little brother on Who I Smoke. He claimed that some of the people who collaborated with Youngin Ace on that track were actually his fans before they turned against him.
Okay, because I remember there's like a lyric where he said like my grandma Zoe or something like that.
I say, my grandma do voodoo, and we chop the head off a goose. I got a couple songs referencing like stuff, cause like that's what I'm tied in with. You get what I'm saying?
When Vlad asked Foolio if he thought the beef should be squashed before more lives were lost, Foolio responded by saying they would probably sit down and talk it out sooner or later. He also revealed that he had already spoken with Youngin Ace a couple of times and claimed that neither of them wanted to hurt each other.
It probably happen sooner than later. You never know what God got planned, you know? I told him that a couple times, you know? We be talking time to time, like, you know what I'm saying?
When Youngin Ace appeared on Vlad TV shortly after, he denied ever meeting Foolio in person. Youngin Ace claimed that Foolio and his crew were simply dissing him for likes and views.
I never seen him before in my life.
In person?
Never seen him before.
Okay.
No, but that's none of them.
The situation has tragically escalated, with fans speculating that Foolio's comment about the beef ending sooner or later was misunderstood. Instead of planning to reconcile, some believe Foolio hinted that the conflict would end when his crew avenged their losses against Youngeen Ace. There's speculation that Youngeen Ace interpreted this message, leading to the tragic events that followed. Tom Hackney, a crime analyst from Jacksonville, commented that Foolio's passing will likely escalate tensions further, perpetuating the cycle of violence. Hackney suggested that retaliation might occur from Youngeen Ace's side, continuing the cycle. As for Youngeen Ace, just hours after Foolio's passing, he released a new diss track titled "I Told Them to Do It," raising speculation that he may be admitting involvement in ordering the hit on Foolio. Additionally, Youngeen Ace posted a since-deleted tweet shortly after the news broke, which implied a reference to Foolio's passing. Reports indicate that federal authorities are looking into Youngeen Ace's possible involvement, and he has reportedly gone into hiding. The rivalry between Youngeen Ace and Julio Foolio serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can arise in the competitive world of hip-hop, especially in environments marked by violence and personal loss. Despite moments of tension and retaliatory diss tracks, the ongoing feud has resulted in tragic consequences for both sides, claiming numerous lives and deeply affecting their communities. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen now to watch similar content.
I'm Julio Foolio, and this is the story of my last 24 hours alive. Yesterday began like any other day, filled with music, hustle, and the ever-present tension that comes with my life. As a rapper in Jacksonville, I've faced my share of challenges and dangers, but I never thought it would end like this. The day started with a studio session. I was recording some tracks for my upcoming project, determined to lay down some fire verses. The studio on Ernest Street had become my second home, a place where I could channel my energy and creativity. I spent hours perfecting my lyrics, ensuring that every word carried weight. After wrapping up the session, I stepped outside to catch some fresh air. It was late, and the streets were quiet. I walked towards my black Dodge Challenger, thinking about my next moves and how I could elevate my music game. Little did I know, danger was lurking around the corner. As I reached my car and unlocked the door, shots rang out. A dark-colored SUV pulled up, and the sound of gunfire filled the air. Instinctively, I grabbed my 2 handguns from the car and returned fire. Bullets flew everywhere, shattering the peace of the night. I could hear the shots ricocheting off nearby buildings and cars. In the chaos, a bullet grazed my ankle, but I didn't let it slow me down. I emptied my clip, determined to defend myself and make it out alive. The shootout felt like it lasted forever, but in reality, it was only a few minutes. When the gunfire finally ceased, I assessed the damage. My car was riddled with bullet holes, and the street was littered with shell casings. I made my way back inside the studio, adrenaline pumping through my veins. My crew checked me over to ensure I wasn't hit anywhere else. Fortunately, aside from the graze on my ankle, I was okay. I went live on Instagram, letting my fans know that I was still standing. "Y'all miss a whole 100 shots literally," I said, trying to maintain my bravado despite the close call. The rest of the night was a blur of phone calls and police reports. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene, and I gave them a statement. I told them about the dark-colored SUV and how I had fired back in self-defense. They found 20 spent shell casings and an AR-15 magazine on the street, evidence of the intense firefight that had just occurred. 647 source. Despite the danger, I couldn't let fear control me. I had survived previous attempts on my life, and I believed I could make it through anything. But as the hours passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was different this time. The tension in the air was palpable, and I knew I had to stay vigilant. Morning came, and I tried to carry on with my day. I had plans to meet up with some friends and discuss our next moves. We were supposed to lay low for a while, but the streets had a way of pulling you back in. I couldn't escape the life I had chosen, and it seemed like trouble was always just around the corner. In the afternoon, I decided to visit a few spots around town. I wanted to clear my head and think about my future. As I drove through the city, memories of past beefs and rivalries flooded my mind. The life of a rapper in Jacksonville was never easy, and I had made my share of enemies. By the evening, I was back in Riverside. I parked my car and started walking towards a friend's place. The sun was setting, casting long shadows on the streets. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my back. I stumbled and fell to the ground, realizing too late that I had been ambushed. The shots had come from behind, catching me off guard. As I lay there, struggling to breathe, I could hear the sound of footsteps approaching. My vision blurred, and darkness began to creep in. I thought about my family, my friends, and my fans. I hoped they would remember me for the music I created and the battles I fought. In my final moments, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had lived my life on my terms, and even though it was ending too soon, I had no regrets. The streets had claimed another life, but my legacy would live on through my music. This is my story, a tale of struggle, survival, and the harsh realities of life as a rapper in Jacksonville. I am Julio Foolio, and my journey may have ended, but my voice will never be silenced. I am Julio Foolio, and my rise in the world of rap was as tumultuous as my fall. Born Charles Jones, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, a city that shaped me and my music in profound ways. My journey from the streets to the stage was marked by relentless ambition, raw talent, and an unyielding desire to tell my story. Growing up in Jacksonville, I was surrounded by a world of challenges. The streets were rough, and survival often meant making tough choices. Music became my escape, a way to express the pain, struggles, and dreams that defined my life. I started rapping at a young age, inspired by the raw and unfiltered reality of my surroundings. My lyrics were a reflection of the life I lived, and I quickly gained a reputation for my honest and hard-hitting style. In the early days, I faced numerous obstacles. With limited resources and support, I had to hustle to get my music heard. I recorded tracks in makeshift studios, often using whatever equipment I could get my hands on. Despite the challenges, I was determined to make a name for myself. My early mixtapes began circulating in the local scene, and my unique voice started to catch the attention of listeners. My big break came with the release of tracks that resonated with a wider audience. Songs like Crooks and Bibby's Story highlighted my ability to weave compelling narratives with gritty realism. The streets of Jacksonville were my muse, and my music was a testament to the struggles and triumphs of my community. However, my rise was not without controversy. In 2019, I lost my younger brother, Adrian Gaynor Jr., also known as Bibby, to gun violence. His death was a turning point for me, fueling my drive to succeed but also plunging me deeper into the dangerous world of street rivalries. My music became an outlet for my grief and anger, often posting live videos from the streets of Jacksonville. My music career reached new heights with the release of my album Love Me Like I'm Dead and its deluxe version, Love Me Like I'm Dead, Last Call. The projects featured collaborations with artists like Big Scar, Cash Kid, and Slime Life Shoddy. The success of these albums showcased my versatility as an artist and my ability to connect with a broader audience. But with fame came increased scrutiny and danger. I survived multiple attempts on my life, including a near-fatal shooting in Houston in 2020 and another in Riverside, Jacksonville, in 2021. Each time, I emerged stronger, using the experiences to fuel my music and message. I often went live on Instagram after these incidents, often posting live videos from the streets of Jacksonville. My music career reached new heights with the release of my album Love Me Like I'm Dead and its deluxe version, Love Me Like I'm Dead, Last Call. The projects featured collaborations with artists like Big Scar, Cash Kid, and Slime Life Shoddy. The success of these albums showcased my versatility as an artist and my ability to connect with a broader audience. But with fame came increased scrutiny and danger. I survived multiple attempts on my life, including a near-fatal shooting in Houston in 2020 and another in Riverside, Jacksonville, in 2021. Each time, I emerged stronger, using the experiences to fuel my music and message. I often went live on Instagram after these incidents, showing my fans that I was still standing despite the odds. The last 24 hours of my life were a culmination of the tensions and conflicts that had defined my career. The day started like any other, but the underlying threat of violence was ever present. I spent the day in the studio, working on new tracks and planning my next moves. My mind was focused on my music and the legacy I wanted to leave behind. The evening brought an ambush that would be my last. As I walked to my car, I was shot by unknown assailants. Despite returning fire and fighting to survive, the wounds proved fatal. My life ended on the streets that had shaped me, in the city that had both lifted and cursed me. My story is a testament to the harsh realities of life as a rapper in Jacksonville. The path to success is fraught with danger, and the line between fame and infamy is razor thin. I lived my life on my terms.
Julio Foolio was hyped, 26 years old today, no more, no less. It was a milestone he had been eagerly anticipating. The big 6 as he called it, was not just another birthday, it was a statement. A declaration of his journey so far and the adventures yet to come. A quarter century plus one, as he liked to say. It was a number that carried weight, a blend of youthful exuberance and the wisdom that comes with age. Julio had always been the life of the party, and today was no exception. He was throwing himself a birthday bash to end all birthday bashes. Life was good, music was popping, money was flowing. What could go wrong? Famous last thoughts, right? The venue was decked out in gold and black, a nod to his love for all things flashy. Friends from all walks of life had gathered, each one bringing their own flavor to the celebration. The day started like a dream. Julio woke up to the sound of birds chirping and the sun casting a warm glow over the city. He stretched, feeling the excitement bubbling up inside him. Today was going to be epic. Sunshine, smiles, and enough food to feed a small army. The buffet table was a sight to behold, laden with delicacies from around the world. From sushi to sliders, there was something for everyone. Julio made sure no one would leave hungry. Julio was living it up. He moved through the crowd, laughing and dancing, soaking in the love and energy that surrounded him. His friends were his family, and today they were all here to celebrate him. Expensive champagne flowed like water. Every toast was a testament to Julio's journey, each clink of the glasses a promise of more good times to come. The bubbles danced in the glasses, much like the people on the dance floor. Music thumped, vibrating through the floor. The DJ was on fire, spinning tracks that kept everyone on their feet. The bass was so deep you could feel it in your bones. It was the kind of night that made you forget about tomorrow. But this was just the pregame show. The anticipation was electric. Everyone knew the best was yet to come. The real party was about to jump off, and Julio was ready to take it to the next level. The real party? That was about to jump off. The night was young, and the city was alive with possibilities. Julio and his crew made their way to the hottest club in town, ready to make memories that would last a lifetime. Little did Julio know, this day would be his last. Amidst the laughter and joy, a shadow loomed. The night took an unexpected turn, reminding everyone that life is as unpredictable as it is precious. Julio's 26th birthday would be remembered, but not for the reasons he had hoped. First stop, a fancy Airbnb. This wasn't just any rental. It was the epitome of luxury, a dream house that looked like it was plucked straight out of a movie set. Julio had rented out the whole place. He wanted to make a statement, and what better way than to have an entire mansion at his disposal? The keys felt heavy in his hand, a symbol of the night to come. It was a mansion, basically. High ceilings, marble floors, and chandeliers that sparkled like stars. Every corner of the house screamed opulence, more rooms than he knew what to do with, perfect for a party. Each room was a potential dance floor, each hallway a runway for the night's festivities. Friends and family rolled in, dressed to the nines. Music blasted, the energy was electric, and the house quickly filled with laughter and chatter. The good times were rolling, drinks flowed, and the dance floor was never empty. It was a night to remember, or at least, try to remember. Except nobody told the neighbors about the party. The music was loud enough to shake the walls, and the neighbors were not amused. And trust, this wasn't a quiet gathering. The bass thumped and the crowd roared with excitement. It was the kind of party that legends are made of. Complaints started rolling in faster than Julio's rhymes. The cops showed up, lights flashing. The neighbors had had enough, and the authorities were there to shut it down. Sirens blaring, party foul, time to bounce. The night ended with a rush of people heading for the exits, the once lively mansion now eerily quiet. The party was over, but the memories would last forever. Julio, never one to back down from a good time, had a backup plan, a nearby hotel, swanky, low-key, perfect for a more intimate gathering. The party migrated, vibes still high. Julio, ever the generous host, kept the drinks flowing. He was the life of the party, joking, laughing, sharing stories. He was on top of the world. The music kept thumping. The night was young. But trouble, like a bad song on repeat, was about to make its presence known. Downstairs in the hotel parking lot, things were getting tense. A group of guys, faces hidden in the shadows, were loitering near Julio's crew's cars. Whispers turned to shouts. Arguments flared. The party atmosphere evaporated. Something was brewing. Inside, Julio was oblivious, lost in the music and laughter. He had no idea that danger lurked just outside. No idea that his time was running out. No idea that this night of celebration would end in tragedy. Section 5 shots ring out. Suddenly the music stopped. A hush fell over the room. Then the unmistakable sound that everyone knew but hoped never to hear. Gunshots, loud, close, panic erupted. People screamed, diving for cover. Chaos reigned. Julio, caught in the middle of it all, froze for a moment. Disbelief etched on his face. This couldn't be happening. Not tonight, not on his birthday. But reality, harsh and unforgiving, had other plans. Section 6. A life cut short. The shots rang out again. This time they found their mark. Julio crumpled to the floor, blood stained his white shirt. The music, the laughter, the joy, all gone, replaced by the deafening silence of death. The partygoers, those who hadn't already fled, huddled in fear. Shock and disbelief hung heavy in the air. Julio Foolio, the rising star, the life of the party, lay still, his light extinguished before its time. Section 7. Unanswered questions. The police arrived, sirens wailing, lights flashing. But it was too late. Julio was gone, another victim of senseless violence, another life cut short, another tragedy. The questions hung heavy in the air. Who? Why? What for? The answers, as elusive as ever, remained hidden in the shadows, lost in the chaos of the night, swallowed by the streets. Julio's life, a story unfinished, was over. But his music, his legacy, that would live on. News of Julio's death spread like wildfire. Social media exploded. Fans mourned. Fellow artists paid tribute. The city of Jacksonville, Florida, where Julio was from, was in shock. He was more than just a rapper. He was a son, a brother, a friend. He was a symbol of hope, a testament to hard work and perseverance. His loss left a void that wouldn't be easily filled. Julio Foolio was a rising star in the rap game. His music, raw and authentic, resonated with people. He rapped about life in the streets, about the struggles, about the triumphs. He spoke his truth. His music was more than just entertainment. It was a reflection of his reality and the reality of so many others like him. He used his platform to give a voice to the voiceless, to shine a light on the darkness. But fame, like a double-edged sword, can cut both ways. It can bring you closer to your dreams, but it can also put a target on your back. Jealousy, envy, greed. These are the demons that often lurk in the shadows of success. And sometimes those demons can prove deadly. The streets can be unforgiving. Loyalty can be fleeting. And life, as Julio Foolio tragically learned, can be snatched away in an instant. Julio Foolio's death is a stark reminder of the devastating impact of gun violence. His life, like so many others, was cut short in a moment of senseless brutality. The pain and grief felt by his family and friends are immeasurable, and the community is left to pick up the pieces. It's a call to action, a plea for change. We must come together to address the root causes of this violence. It's not enough to mourn, we must act. We must advocate for stronger laws, better education, and more resources for those in need. We must stand united in our demand for a safer future. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the senseless loss of life. Each victim is more than a statistic. They are someone's child, sibling, friend. We must demand better for ourselves, for our communities, for the future generations who deserve to grow up in a world free from the fear of gun violence, for the memory of Julio Foolio and all the other victims of gun violence. Their lives were full of potential, dreams, and aspirations. We owe it to them to fight for a world where such tragedies are no longer a daily occurrence. Let their deaths not be in vain. Let their stories be the catalyst for change. We must honor their memory by working tirelessly to prevent future tragedies. Every candle lit, every flower placed is a promise to never forget and to keep fighting for justice. Let their stories inspire us to create a better, safer world. A world where communities are united, where people look out for one another, and where violence is not the norm but the exception. We must channel our grief into action, our sorrow into strength. A world where birthdays are celebrated, not mourned. Where every child has the chance to grow up, to chase their dreams, and to live a life free from the shadow of violence. This is the world we must strive to build, for Julio Foolio, and for all those who have lost their lives too soon.